Hello and welcome to Mint. Today, in Brand Talk, we have with us Kavitha Rao, Country Commercial Manager for Ikea India. Founded in Sweden in 1943, Ikea is now a worldwide retailer of affordable, well designed products and solutions for every room in your home. The Ikea Group today has 420 plus stores in 50 countries. In India, Ikea has about two stores, the Ikea Hyderabad that opened in 2018 and a IKEA Navi Mumbai store that opened in December 2020. The retailer has also started online operations and has recently rolled out an app. Welcome to the show, Kavita.
Hey Sunira, great to connect again. And thank you for having me on Brand Talk.
Kavita has been the country commercial manager for IKEA India. She comes with 20 years of experience in consumer and retail sectors, having been in the leadership positions in both operating and consulting roles. Kavita has been with IKEA in India for the past 5 years, working to set up the India supply chain in the early years, as well as lead market entry initiatives for key markets before taking on country commercial manager position. In her current role, Kavita is responsible for sales, marketing, home furnishing, customer experience, and food businesses. So we'll, kickstart this interview, Kavita. Just help us understand. When IKEA entered India, I recall I was at the store, of course, in Hyderabad, and I recall asking this question to several people. A lot of people in India did not know what brand IKEA meant. So just help us understand how did you navigate that environment, building a presence for a brand which a lot of Indians had never been to or shopped from. So what were the first, your entry point into helping consumers understand brand IKEA?
I think that's a great question to get started. And you're very right when you say that most people in India did not know the IKEA brand. But I think there were two or three important elements we got started with even before we thought of what we needed to do in the context of marketing and building the IKEA brand. One of the most important things for us was how do we get to know consumers in the India market, specifically considering the fact that we are a home furnishing retailer. It was really important for us to visit customer homes, understand their day-to-day activities, and look at how home furnishing played a role in their everyday life. During the course of the initial years, I remember the first 18 months or thereabouts, we actually visited close to about 2,000 homes across all the major cities in India, trying to understand what life at home in the Indian context was all about. This was a very, very important revelation for us because it really, really helped get into the details of what consumer behavior in the context of home furnishing was. The second important step for us was also to look at how did our products fare, because at the end of the day, we believe that the product range is our identity and it is going to play a very important role. And for us, the big question was, did Indian consumers see our products as relevant and affordable? So this was the second important aspect that we worked on. And so we actually placed IKEA products, be it home furnishing accessories, be it wardrobes, be it kitchens at customer homes, and really looked at what their usage pattern was and how did the products fare in different environmental conditions, different climatic conditions, and so on. And the third important step for us was really to look at the cultural context of India, as well as try and link it up to what did it mean in terms of IKEA's culture and values. And it was very interesting because we saw a lot of similarities, and of course, there were differences as well. But what was very important for us was to determine how can we build on each other's strengths. Thus came about the positioning statement, which we later called Make Everyday Brighter. And the whole idea behind it was to say that we would like consumers in India to look at the IKEA product range as a set of well-designed, functional, affordable products that they would really love to have in their homes. We would like to have a great customer experience for all those people who come to IKEA over the coming years. And we would also like to look at how can we increase interest in home furnishing amongst our consumers in the India market. We also wanted the organization to be seen as a forward thinking, values driven brand. And we also wanted the organization to see that we were making a meaningful contribution to planet positive initiatives in India as well as in the communities that we operated in. So this was the crux of how we really built the positioning statement for IKEA in India, and thus started our journey in terms of building the brand and making sure IKEA was seen as unique, meaningful, and trusted amongst consumers in India.
When IKEA entered the Indian market, Kavitha, e-commerce was also emerging, and clearly there was some sort of a vacuum in the offline advertising and marketing space for furniture as a category. So, how do you view it from a marketing advertising, metric? Is it a very evolved advertising landscape you're operating in, or you have to start from scratch and really build it and not just build the IKEA brand, but also build the functionality of furniture per se in India from a marketing and advertising point of view?
I think what is really happening in India at this point in time is the whole consumer behavior in the context of media consumption is undergoing a significant change. We can see that during the last couple of years of us all staying home, and as part of the COVID pandemic, we can see that audiovisual mediums have become very, very important. It is also on the backdrop of the fact that the mobile penetration, particularly of smartphones, has increased significantly, and the whole ability to shoot good video content has suddenly become possible in the last couple of years. So we can clearly see that consumption of audiovisual communication content is something that is really, really increased significantly. When it comes to our own media channels, we do use an array of media channels ranging from both offline as well as online. And based on the fact that consumer behavior is evolving in the space, we are also constantly updating and staying agile in terms of what are the new mediums that we can really leverage. So we can clearly see that digital is increasing. Maybe there are changes in the handle when it comes to out-of-home content consumption. We can clearly see that television continues to be important in multiple cities across India. So it is a very interesting landscape, and we see that it is evolving. And we also need to realize that IKEA is a relatively new brand in the market, and we will learn through our presence, through experimentation, testing across the different mediums available over time. The other important aspect for us has also been related to the content. How do we make sure that the content that we are taking to our consumers is something that they see as relevant? And you will see this evolution in the campaigns that we put together in recent times. From the first one that we launched when we opened Hyderabad to today, we really believe that we have made many strides in terms of getting closer to the consumers in India and showcasing much more relevant content in terms of the campaigns that we've taken out. So it is both a mix of media as well as content coming together in this context.
Right. When will IKEA sort of do, national large-scale campaigns? Like, how many stores do you think you need to open before you start sort of beaming and entering every, Indian television screen in the country? What is that sort of point that you're waiting for?
Yeah, I think, it is a stage of evolution for us in terms of how it is moving. And the reason I say that is in 2018, we opened Hyderabad as the first format. So a lot of what we did in terms of marketing was very, very specific to the Hyderabad market. And now we went ahead and opened e-commerce in several cities across India. And that brought about the need to start to look at more cities than just one. And now with Mumbai coming into the picture, the equation is already changing. I think what is very important for us is in the context of accessibility. How do we make the IKEA brand more accessible, which means that we need to have a presence across many cities in India. And that is when we will have the scale to take on national channels and national mediums to really be able to look at that. At this point in time, we still are waiting to reach that tipping point in terms of a few more cities that we are able to add, which will actually give us the baseline to be able to start looking at more national content and national mediums of communication. But today, I think we still have some distance to go. As you are aware, we are opening up the Bangalore market soon, so that will also add to the entire bouquet of formats and accessibility that is available. And then Delhi will be another important market which will add on further. I think what is important is once we have a presence in the mega cities, and then from there we start to really look at the circle of influence into many other linked tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 cities. That will be a very, very interesting journey for us in the coming years. And that will also change how we start to look at both marketing spends, media channels, as well as the content that we would like to take to consumers across India.
Kavitha, could you give us a sense of how much you're engaging with social media platforms, with influencers? One does see various sort of store visits that you keep doing with influencers. There's also before and after, home episodes that you do perhaps on social media platforms. How core is that to driving consumer engagement, even brand awareness for you, especially in a market like India? And how many more such efforts will we see coming from your end?
I think this is an ongoing effort for us. And one of the main reasons why we are doing this is also to create more interest in the context of home furnishing in the India market. If you look at some of the numbers, when we really started to do research in the India context, we found that spend on home furnishing is quite low. It is about 2.5% in terms of the total disposable income that is available, and that is still far lower than most of the other markets across the world. So we clearly see that there is a need for us to build even more interest in the context of home furnishing. And we believe that what better way than actually engaging consumers in topics related to the home that can over time really, really create a lot of interest in home furnishing as a category, which is also the reason why you would have seen the episodes of Home Stories, for example, where we really try to work with one household, consumers living in that household, try to work closely with them in terms of what their dreams and frustrations are, and really look at how home furnishing can really contribute to a better everyday life. So we've done a whole series on Home Stories, and this is something that we continue to do in the future, maybe for many years to come in the Indian market. In addition to that, we've also forayed into a lot of the user generated content, right? And we see great interest from consumers in that context as well. People would really like to showcase their homes, see what they have done in the context of home furnishing, and people are very delighted to share their homes on social media platforms, and that in turn generates a lot of interest in the category. So this is also something that we will continue to do, and we do have contests, we do have different ways of engagement, but of course a lot of that is digital. But considering the fact that we have very large physical formats, we also do workshops in the stores for people who have really an interest in home furnishing. Very recently we had done something related to table decor during the festive season, for example. So that is something that we will continue to do week on week, month on month, I think in India for the coming many years, maybe for the next decade.
Right. I recall when Ikea came into India, I think localization was such a strong theme. Everybody wanted to understand whether you sell the same product range, or whether you tweak something for Indian kitchens, and for smaller Indian homes. When it comes to marketing, what localization have you, done? Especially when you enter, specific regions and you look at like a specific state, you look at Maharashtra, you look at other states as you go along. Are there any local tweaks that you make to your marketing communication? Is it from a language or advertising or a use case scenario?
Yeah, I think one important thing that we've really tried to do is on in the context of the marketing campaigns and the content that we take to consumers, right? We've tried to keep it very relevant. For example, the last campaign was related to festivities. It was also related to the fact that we launched the festive collection called as Aromatisk in the India market, which was also entirely made in India. So there were multiple angles of localization when you look at that particular campaign. The product range was very relevant to Indian consumers because of the festive time frame. The communication that went out, the content is about a family celebrating together, coming together and having lots of fun, which was really, really something that was very thematic at that point in time and very relevant for consumers who were maybe seeing it on television or on a digital media channel. And then the next part of it is also related to the product range itself, right? Is it relevant for consumers? How do we increase the relevance of what is needed in the India market based on the life at home reality in India? And from time to time, we've also looked at, bringing product ranges that would meet the needs of Indian consumers. For example, we in India cook 3 meals a day, if not four. So there is a lot more need for cooking and eating related product ranges, right? So we have absolutely looked at how can we really, really beef up the product range in that context. But again, at a different end, for example, when you look at kitchens, there is a lot of wet cleaning that happens in Indian kitchens. So you will see that the worktops are tweaked a little bit to take care of the fact that there is water-based cleaning that happens, and you don't want your fronts to get destroyed over a period of time. But what is important, coming back to the context of marketing, because again, marketing sits on top of the product range and the offer that we carry to our consumers in India. What we've really tried to look at is in each of the cities where we have a presence, often we have chosen media channels that are most relevant in those cities. For example, television is a very important media channel in Hyderabad. Maybe it is not as important in Mumbai, right? So we do take into account some of these nuances as well. And then, as you rightly said, there is always the element of language. Often we do run campaigns in the local language as well. And we've done that quite a lot in Hyderabad in the last 3 years. So these are some of the different elements and nuances that we brought in terms of localization.
I was just saying that, the IKEA store in itself is an important marketing tool, the iconic color and the big box format, which Indian shoppers weren't exactly used to. So, have you done anything inside the IKEA store to drive more engagement with customers? Is it different from what you do in global markets?
Yes, when it comes to the store format, it is very similar to the store formats in any other part of the world. So when you come into the IKEA store, you will enter this area that we call as the showroom, which is where you can see a whole host of solutions across different areas of the home, be it living room, be it bedroom, be it kitchen, and so on. And it has got a lot of home furnishing accessories. So it gives you a lot of ideas in terms of what you could do. And there is a lot of options in terms of planning services, interior design consulting related services and so on that are on the offer, whereas the lower level is typically the market hall where you take your trolley around, pick up things and put things into the basket, and then you head towards the checkout. And both of these are, of course, separated by a restaurant in between, which is also a great point to take a break. So I would say that, yes, it could at times be a long walk, and particularly for Indian consumers where a 40,000 square meter store is quite big, and I think typically shopping malls are of that size. It is sometimes challenging in terms of the shopping experience. But over time, people have actually given very positive feedback in terms of the experience related to the store. And over time, people have also understood that maybe you do the inspiration in the showroom, and then you take a break at the restaurant, and then you continue a journey into the market hall where, and then you could still stop at the bistro for a last minute takeaway of food. So that is really coming in, and the consumers are beginning to understand that. But it is no different from any other large format store in any other part of the world. What is different is how the solutions are presented. So if you look at a living room or a bedroom in a store in India, it is very, very relevant to consumers in the market. So for example, we know that Indian kids spend more time with their parents in their bedroom. And then this is the solution that is normally showcased, right? It is not relevant for us to think that children in Indian homes, particularly at a young age, have their own room. Maybe not in most cases, right? And so this is exactly how we will see the solutions. So, for example, in Mumbai, where small space living is very big, you will see that the size of the rooms that are presented and the kind of vertical solutions that are presented in terms of storage is far higher than what you would see in Hyderabad, where homes are far, far bigger, almost double the size of an average home in Mumbai. So those are some interesting nuances. But as you rightly said, the IKEA store in itself is a great marketing vehicle. And we do leverage it to the maximum possible extent. Of course, for that, consumers need to come into the store format to even have that experience, which is also the reason why I mentioned we do a lot of workshops and find ways to engage with consumers. We also, from time to time, look for events in the restaurants, which can also be a great way for consumers to socialize together. Maybe it is a kitty party, a birthday party, or even a work after hour that could actually happen at an IKEA restaurant. So all of those are different options in terms of how we could have consumers come in and spend a few hours of fun inside the IKEA store itself. But what is very interesting is in the India context, we also see that apart from us sharing a lot of details, there are consumers who have taken a lot of interest in terms of what it is to shop inside an IKEA store. So if you go to YouTube, you will find numerous content coming in from consumers where people have really made some awesome videos and posted it on YouTube channels to support other consumers. And that, I think, is an amazing vehicle for us to continue to build the brand in the India market.
Thank you so much, Kavitha. That was a very insightful interview. I think a lot of consumers have been very eager about the brand IKEA in India, about wanting to know more, and more importantly, wanting the stores to open in their cities. So, thank you so much for a well rounded conversation. And thank you so much to our viewers for joining Mint's Brand Talk. Thank you and see you around.
Thank you very much, Sunira. It was a pleasure speaking to you.